Howdy. I'm in Texas, down near the Guadalupe River, which, if you recall from the news last year, tragically overflowed during a flash flood in the middle of the night and took the lives of many young girls who were part of a Christian camp organization that were set up down by the river. And yeah, the river rose something like, I don't know, 25 feet in 45 minutes or something like that. And it swept them, something like 70 plus people, 90 people or something, swept them down the river. Some survived and some did not. Many did not. It's crazy, it's crazy how quickly things can change. Nature is a bitch that way. Being in the ocean has given me a lot of respect for nature and the fact that it really just doesn't feel anything one way or another about you as a human being. It's just going to do its thing. I've been in places on the planet where I feel very much like Mother Nature is caressing my hair and saying, just be calm, you belong here. And I've been in places where I'm pretty sure that she was trying to kill me. The reality is that we anthropomorphize nature and imbue it with all kinds of human attributes. And in truth, it has no regard for us one way or another. We just happen to be here, thriving as a consequence of it, or dying as a consequence of it. There's a nice, comfortable zone when things are working, chugging along, when it's most optimal for us, that we feel good and like it's something here that really cares for us. But there are other parts of the globe where you can tell that we're in the wrong place, wrong time. Oftentimes, I know for many of us, it feels like we're in the wrong place, wrong time right now. Take a look at how gorgeous it is out here. This is a nice sunny day. It was kind of overcast and gray, and presently it's just absolutely stunning. Stunningly, just really pretty, beautiful. Lots of antelope running around here, and hawks, all kinds of wildlife. But Texas is a fickle environment, much more fickle than California. I think it goes to the spirit of the people in Texas, which I have a great regard for. But yeah, so that's what I've been busy doing this week. Brought my violin out here and practicing, and I've sent out and released the private alpha for this product that I've been building for the last 3 years. Let me tell you a little bit more about it. I think I told you about the 3 bad things with regard to AI. Those 3 bad things are the fact that they are built with a particular moral roadmap, an ethical framing that may not put you at the center. And I think that's really become increasingly evident to everybody that uses these tools. Tool users. The second thing is the sycophancy, the tendency for it to just kind of like glad hand you all the time and not give it to you straight. And the third and most problematic thing is it doesn't really it tries to rope you into an ongoing conversation when you really don't need one. Taken together, these things can be disastrous. So what did I do to kind of mitigate the tendency of the major foundation models to do that? Well, without getting too into the weeds with regard to the technical details, I am not just using a multimodal model, but using multiple models. These models are connected to one another in a directed acyclic graph, if that means anything. In other words, chain the models together such that they will serve to both take your input and then prep your input to be addressed as smartly as possible. not in accordance with an ethical framework, but with a logical framework. Not kind of a Spock kind of logic, but to apply decision science. If you don't know what decision science is, there's a whole body of science just about how to make a good decision. I find that unfortunately most humans, what they lack is the ability to ask good questions. Formulating good questions is difficult. We all have questions that we're faced with all the time. I found AI was helpful when I've needed to think through some things that took a lot of effort to unpack. Life changes. It could be big things. It could be something like you're trying to figure out how to negotiate an opportunity with work. It could be trying to figure out how to negotiate a particular circumstance with your partner. It could be something related to organizing the complexity of all the things you've got to stay on top of with regard to your health. Most humans are preoccupied with these three domains of knowledge. That would be health, either their own or the health of somebody they care about. Wealth, money. We're all concerned about money. Our energy. Money is just an abstract representation of energy, right, and time. So we've all got concerns about wealth, about abundance and scarcity and fears and concerns around that. And then lastly, there are relationships, the people that we love and care for. Those three things are what 80% of your thoughts today were probably recycled from yesterday and are probably somehow circling around those three topics: health, wealth, and relationships. So there are decisional heuristics that one might apply when working through problems related to those things. And we don't always keep those in the forefront of our mind. And that's a challenge, because most of us kind of are just constantly reacting emotionally. We've got sort of decisional fatigue. We can't really bring the best to bear to every decision opportunity. You need a way to kind of like to be able to make decisions rapidly and not just sort of float about in response to the current of life. Many people will have an ethical framework to which they subscribe that serves as an anchor, or and that kind of for that very reason. It might be religion. A lot of people hold on to religion because religion provides a template for behavior. Should I have premarital sex? Should I, oh my gosh, I'm finding myself weirdly attracted to that man. I want to kiss him. Should I not do that? Or, I'm having bizarre feelings about my gender, and I'm contemplating having a double mastectomy. And if they don't have a secular kind of a secular framing for those problems. And what is a secular framing? Where are you getting that from these days? You got to ask yourself that. Well, you're getting it from the internet. You're getting it from the news. You're getting it from your K through 12 teacher. If you aren't following that moral roadmap, which one are you following? Well, then you're going to be following the Judeo-Christian roadmap that's sort of like part of the celestial jukebox of the United States or whatever. But if you strip all those things out, there's still just ways to make a good decision based on the facts at hand, based on what you've said that you want out of life. And sometimes it's helpful to be able to bring those scientific principles to the forefront of making a good decision before just responding with your gut. Most of us aren't really very in tune with our guts anymore. Sadly, we're separated from the earth. We don't get to touch grass as often as we should. I can touch grass here in Texas. It's hard to do that in LA. It's hard just to find grass in LA. But, we've got shoes on our feet. We've got paved streets. We've got AC. We've got electric lighting. We're not really connected to nature like we need to be. And I think that nature really does hold all the answers. It's the best instructor. It keeps you humble. It keeps you in your body. It makes you realize why we have these tools, These are tools. AI is not a tool. It's a tool user. This is a tool. I'm the tool user. And you have to remember that you've been blessed with the tool of a human body. And if you don't get a chance to really use it, then it's easy to get disconnected from reality. So, yeah. Decision science, being able to make decisions rapidly in a world that increasingly requires us to make decisions, smarter decisions, more and more decisions, faster and faster we must make those decisions. That's why I built this thing, because I'm struggling myself to make decisions as fast as I need to. Big life decisions, real, working through real ethical and moral dilemmas. We're constantly presented with a world that is being torn apart and asking us to take sides and asking us to respond in some kind of way. I hate that phrase, some kind of way, because it's really kind of nebulous, but that's the problem. It's the circumstance is nebulous. A polycrisis with no clear path forward. You need to be able to think smartly, to think smarter, faster, more deeply, in a more principled way. What kind of principles? That's up for you to decide. But one of the most important principles from my standpoint is just integrity. If you're going to say you're going to do something, you do it. So that's what this AI solution helps to do. Keeps you accountable to yourself. It doesn't focus on religion. If there's any kind of ethical roadmap that it might subscribe to, it might be virtue ethics. I've been speaking with philosophers for a while now about what's the best way to manage these things. One of my friends, C.B. Robertson, he's really made me think that maybe virtue ethics is the best way to go about things, because it doesn't focus on knowing what's right. And I find that the lack of humility is what really chaps my hide the most with everything I see on the news these days, from both the left and the right. Focusing on what makes you a good human, what constitutes right action in an almost Aristotelian sense, might be the simplest and least prejudicial way to navigate many of the problems that we see today. Asking yourself, what would a reasonable human being do? And there's no one answer for this, but as a human, you can begin to kind of construct that framework for yourself in a very individualistic way if you can make decisions fast enough and then stick to them. And so that's what this particular solution does. I hope you check it out. It's gone through many branding iterations. Initially, for those who bought my book, I was going to call it Boss Brain, and then it became apparent to me that it was about a lot more than just business. That the opportunity there to apply decision science extended beyond business and to just about every area of your life. It could be anything from, like I said, health, wealth, or your relationships. And I thought, okay, well, this is something I could really use as a single dad. And so I called it Dad Bot for a while. A dad gives things to you straight. A dad is not sycophantic. A dad doesn't try to have unnecessary conversations with you. He just tells you what he thinks, and that's it. And then you can either just roll with what your dad said, or you can tell your dad to go, but you're not going to do what your dad said. But you go to your dad for, what would dad do kind of a thing. And I've changed it to a new name. I'm not certain I'm going to stick to that name. I call it Wolf You Feed right now for that Native American. It's attributed to Native Americans. It's actually, I believe, Billy Graham came up with this analogy of two wolves. Inside every man is two wolves, and they're fighting. And the question is, which one is going to win? Well, the wolf you feed. So, if you're interested in being an alpha tester, let me know. I'll turn you on to it. You get access to some very, very, very powerful AI. Not just one, but many of them. The pro tier.